Hi, this is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know. That's www.growbecauseyouknow.com. Welcome to Morning Mindset Cafe. Today we're talking about Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. More specifically, we are pretty much at the end of the book, chapter 15, in the PDF that I'm sharing with those who are joining me live today. It begins on page 221. Those who have your own book, we're talking about the section that has a header called Old Man Worry. Of course, it goes on for quite a few pages beyond page 221. Hi, Matt. Good to see you. Had me a bit concerned. Glad you're here. Because it's more than just Old Man Worry, and because we are at the end of the book, and because on Monday I want to start a new book to guide our discussions for Morning Mindset. I titled this program for today, If You Pray, Why Worry? Because to me it encompasses everything from the header of Old Man Worry forward. Let's take a look at that, shall we? So yesterday we talked about how fear is a state of mind. Napoleon Hill describes worry as a state of mind based on fear. It's insidious. It is persistent. Worry can get under our skin, into our thoughts, and work slowly but persistently. And what I imagine is that it's like a trickle of water that at a glance appears to not have any harmful intent, can't do harm, right? But we all know that hydraulics and water can wear away the strongest of materials over a period of time. That's similar to what worry does. That's what I envision in my mind. And according to Napoleon Hill, it step by step digs itself in until it paralyzes our reasoning faculty and destroys our self-confidence and initiative because we're constantly worried that something's not going to work out. We're worried about the unknown outcome. We're worried about who's going to do what when, and we have no evidence to show us that they will or they won't, so we're left to our own devices and we begin to worry. Puts us in a state of indecision, which is one of the worst states that we can be in, can't we? That's one of the worst states we can be in, is indecision, because that leaves us susceptible to everybody else's decision. In addition to that, it gives us an unsettled mind, and that is not what we've been working towards in this book. Our goal in this case is to have control of our thoughts and to have a settled mind and to be decisive. If we allow worry to come into this, all of that is for naught. All the work we've done is for naught. So during the Depression, the entire atmosphere all over the world, during the recession, the entire atmosphere all over the world, less than 100 years apart, we've experienced this ourselves, right? We're filled with fiorenza and worryitis, the two mental disease germs. And they began to spread themselves in 1929 for the Wall Street frenzy and in 2008 with the financial world collapse, or the financial industry collapse. Am I wrong? If I'm wrong, tell me. Fiorenza and worryitis. Here's the interesting thing. The only known antidote for fiorenza and worryitis is the habit of prompt and firm decision. Being decisive. It is an antidote which every individual must apply for himself. So it's up to me. It is up to me to get in the habit and have the habit of prompt and firm decision making. To not worry over conditions once I've reached a decision to follow a definite line of action. That's the antidote to worry. Sounds simple, doesn't it? So we go on through to the next page where I'm on page 222, and Napoleon Hill is encouraging us, kill the habit of worry in all its forms by reaching a general blanket decision that nothing which life has to offer is worth the price of worry. Wow. I have a feeling that's going to be my takeaway for today. Nothing which life has to offer is worth the price of worry. With the decision, when I make this decision, when I commit to this decision, I will have poise, peace of mind, and calmness of thought, which in turn will bring happiness. I will also remove fear from my thoughts and gain courage. Which one's more attractive, by the way, when you're around people? One who's afraid and worrywart and always concerned about, well, what if? Or the one that's confident and says that no matter what the outcome, I know I've made the right decision. No matter what this line of action is, in response to what life has thrown, I'm confident in my ability to move through it. Remember, one of the most important statements in here, it's been repeated numerous times throughout this entire book, is that we are never through with a thought just by releasing it. You just don't release a thought. You have to replace it with something. And that's because the thoughts we've had to this point and our habits and the way we see things, we've embedded into our subconscious. So we can't just bring them up and say, you're gone. Let's replace them with something. Your business in life, presumably, is to achieve success. And to be successful, you must find peace of mind, acquire the material needs of life, and above all, attain happiness. All of these evidences of success begin in the form of our thought impulses. Do you hear that? To be successful, you must find peace of mind, acquire the material needs of life, and above all, attain happiness. You control your own mind. You have the power to feed it whatever thought you choose. You are the master of your own earthly destiny, just as surely as you have the power to control your own thoughts. You may influence, direct, and eventually control your own environment, making your life what you want it to be. The worry can seat itself. It can undermine our willpower. It will bring us into a position of being easily swayed by somebody else. It can embed itself and destroy. It can also embed itself along our path of personal growth and on our path to our definite chief aim, be it personal or business, and our path to gaining riches, and distract us, and stop us. All right, so on page 225 of this PDF, and in the book, it is self-analysis test questions. I encourage all of you to take a look and do a spot check. Where are you? How can you answer these questions? Are you where you want to be on your path to success? Are you filled with negative? And if you are, can you identify it? Love how these questions can help us with that. I mean, do you often complain of feeling bad? And he goes one step further. If you do, why? What's the cause? Are you deliberately avoiding somebody? Why? See, self-awareness, self-examination. Do you like your occupation? If not, why? Do you learn something of value from all mistakes? Do you tolerate negative or discouraging influences which you could avoid? So these are all questions, and there are quite a few of them that I do something similar on a semi-regular basis. What I mean by that is about every 6 months, go and retreat, get in a quiet spot, and kind of get a spot check. How am I? Where am I? And I use a tool very similar to these questions to gain insight. Am I on the path? Have I strayed? I have used a shorter version in my evening review of the day, a spot check. Again, this is a deeper check. All right, so I'm going on. That starts on page 225. So this lets you know how many questions there are. I'm now to page 229. That's why it's not something you can just read, answer once, and leave alone. Please don't. If you're on the path to personal improvement, personal development, and want to remove worry from your life and want to pray so that you don't worry, take a look at these. You have absolute control over but one thing, and that is your thoughts. This is the most significant and inspiring of all facts known to man. It's the only thing you have absolute control over. It reflects man's divine nature. For those of us who believe in the divinity, over the years, and I guess I could honestly say back in the, what was it, in the 50s and the 60s, most of the religions began really looking at the temple within, the God within, instead of this entity without. And I relate to that with that statement. I don't know about you. You're welcome to comment or not. But the idea here is that it reflects that man has something more. And then we talk about willpower in here. And the idea that, unfortunately, there's no legal protection against those who, either by design or ignorance, poison the minds of others by negative suggestion. And we see that all the time, don't we? Men with negative minds tried to convince Thomas Edison that he couldn't build a machine that would record and produce and reproduce the human voice because no one had ever seen such a machine. Yeah, well, we know better, don't we? That's why we're here. And I thank you for being here with me. Men with negative minds told F.W. Woolworth he'd go broke trying to run a store on 5 and 10 cent sales. He didn't believe him, thank goodness. Woolworths was an outstanding retail chain. Men with negative minds told George Washington he could not hope to win against the vastly superior forces of the British. But he took and exercised his divine right to believe. While the name of Lord Cornwallis has been all forgotten, therefore this book was published under the protection of the Stars and Stripes. Doubting Thomases scoffed when Henry Ford tried out his first crudely built automobile on the street. Trusting your own judgment, being decisive on the path you've decided to take. Mind control is the result of self-discipline and habit, and that's all the things we've been talking about. It's all the things we've been talking about, self-control and habit. There's no hallway compromise. You either control your mind or it controls you. Facts. The most practical of all methods for controlling the mind is the habit of keeping it busy with definite purpose, backed by a definite plan. You have your purpose, you have your plan, that means you're getting into action. Study the record of anyone who achieves noteworthy success, and you'll observe they have control over their own mind. Moreover, they exercise that control and direct it toward the attainment of definite objectives. Without this control, success is not possible. People who don't succeed have one thing in common. They all know all the reasons for failure and have what they believe to be airtight alibis, also known as excuses. Some of them are clever, and a few of them are justifiable by the facts. But you know what? Alibis don't pay my bills. Alibis can't be used for money. The world wants to know only one thing: have I achieved success? The world doesn't care what excuse I give it. You don't care what excuse I give you, do you? I don't care what excuse you give me. Remember, the philosophy presented in this books make one of these alibis, every one of them, obsolete. We're calling this old man if. If I didn't have a wife and family, if I didn't have a husband, if I had enough pull, if I had enough money, if I had good education, if I could get a job, if I had good health, if I only had time, if times were better, if other people understood me, and on and on and on and on. And I'm still scrolling through pages of ifs. Still scrolling through pages of ifs. So it really does come down to this. Master key is intangible, but it is powerful. It's the privilege of creating in your own mind a burning desire for a definite form of riches. There is no penalty for the use of the key, but there is a price. And that price is failure. There is a reward of stupendous proportions if you put the key to use. And it's the satisfaction that comes to all who conquer self and force life to pay whatever is asked. Have all of that. And then we add in the power of prayer. That's my part. Yes, Napoleon Hill talks about it in Think and Grow Rich, about tapping into the divine intelligence, the importance of faith. And I say to you, after having read through the final pages, tidbits from this chapter, that if you have worry, to check yourself. How's your prayer? It is one thing, we talked a little bit about, or read a little bit a moment ago about the antidote to worry is to have control of your thoughts, right? The antidote to worry is to be decisive and to be confident and to be conscious of moving forward on a path. That's the antidote. I say that when I'm presented with a potential get me off path, that I can check my worry with prayer, with my faith. That when I find myself spending too much time worrying and not enough time doing, I can check myself. Quick check. And another activity to stop the worry, a literal activity, is to take a breath and say a prayer. That's me. I've put it to use recently over the past few weeks, and it works. Because it's a realization that I don't have any control over what's in front of me. What I can control is my thoughts. What I can control are my thoughts that affect my actions. Oh, some great comments to this side. Good morning, Cindy. Good to see you. Hi, Walter, Craig. Welcome, Betsy. Always good to see you. Happiness is a state of mind, not a destination. Yep, that's what he was saying. Byproduct. Yeah, worry does seem to be about the what ifs. It has to be, because if you're worried, you're concerned about outcomes or possibilities. You're not dealing with facts. And even when, in general, even when previous experience tells you what the outcome will be, unless it's in a controlled environment where everything's exactly the same as it was before, it doesn't really matter, does it? Because why worry? If you know what the outcome is, then you can be prepared for it. The what ifs are the negative sides, and I can is on the positive side. Good one, Walter. So the negative side is the what if, and the positive side is the I can. Unaware, compulsive, negative thinking. Yeah. Those who say it cannot be done should not bother those who are doing it. Love that, Roy. Love that. Let's get that out to the world, shall we? Those who say it cannot be done should not bother those who are doing it. Great reminder, Walter. It's been a while since I've seen that quote from Steve Jobs. Don't let the dogma of others drown your inner voice. I'm Betsy. Once the recording is off, yes, I want to hear the funny story. Oh, I want to hear the funny story. So yeah, you can get, when I was insecure and I was anxious and I was uncertain of, the decisions I was making, then yes, I worried. And the prayers that I said reduced the worry, but it didn't take it away because I didn't know how to replace. I didn't know how to replace my thoughts. To me, it was, well, I'm going to let go of the worry and I'm going to let my God take care of it and I'm going to be okay. And in general, that works. But when I have to continually do that regularly, so I can tell you that it's a heck of a lot less stressful. A lot less stressful. And nicer to live with myself by not being in such a state of worry, by not constantly second guessing myself. And that takes practice and it takes time and it takes much more than just prayer. It takes everything we've been talking about with these principles in this book and more. Because these are just core. There's only 13 principles listed in this book. Remember, it was written at the request of President Roosevelt to help people get past the Depression as a short, like Cliff Notes of Law of Success. I mean, we got 300 pages in Think and Grow Rich and 900 and some odd pages in Law of Success. I think Law of Success is more in depth, but that's okay because it still gives us fodder for discussion, doesn't it? We're not here to study each and every principle in depth, but instead to start our morning off thinking about, there's a success principle. How can I fit that in my life? Do I already fit it? Do I have the knowledge now? Am I doing it now? If so, please share with the rest of us. If not, ask your questions. There's some of us in here be happy to provide you with the answers. Let it in can be a more positive twist to let it go. See, and that goes right to my thought and my belief that by letting go of one thing, I have to replace it with something else. I don't know that it's possible. I mean, this book is saying it's not, and others have said it's not possible to just simply remove something without replacing it with something else. And my thinking is that the way I see it is that if I remove something, it's still going to leave like a stain or a shadow of its presence unless I replace it with something. So it's not ever completely gone. Right? Oh, I like that, Cindy. If you're spending time on worry and if, there is no time for possibility and is. Ooh, like that. Like that. Cindy, can you put that on a really nice image? Put your little name, put your True Visions Media underneath that. That'd be an awesome one to share. I'd love to share that on social media. Other comments? Anybody want to jump in and talk about, if you worry, why pray? Or talk about the what ifs, and the if onlys, indecisiveness. It's like we can't have opposites at the same time. Yeah, that's really where I was coming from with the title of this. I mean, if you worry, why pray? Why even bother? If you pray, why worry? Fear or love, they don't occupy the same space at the same time, do they? Abundance and scarcity. Exactly, Betsy. They don't occupy the same space at the same time. Can't be happy and angry at the same time. I can't think good thoughts and be scared silly about what's happening right now at the same time. If I'm in the middle of experience, trust me, I can't do it. Welcome, Catherine. Hi, Roy.
Good morning.
Good to have you with us. How you been?
So good to see you. Good to hear you, Charlene.
Thank you.
I happen to be up early, and I love your topic.
Good.
If you pray, why worry? I mean, we've discussed this. about our faith and our divinity. God is a big part of my life. I believe that he directs my steps just like he says he does. So like a little kid, my father actually is a really, really good example for me. I'm his oldest, and therefore I'm sure he treated me with more kid gloves than he did his second, third, and fourth child. So
yeah, I felt the same way in my family.
yeah, exactly. So we as parents, and I did the same thing with my second child. We cut him a lot more slack, and so I see that as the picture of God with me, my spiritual dad. He's going to let me do what I want to do, and if I'm really his, he's only going to let me go so far because he's going to put some sort of barrier there. Just like if he let me play in the front yard, I'm sure he's going to put a fence, so that I don't get run over by a car or two. So I see it the same way in the spiritual. And if my father said something to me, I never worried about it. It was like I took it as gold because he never lied to me. And while I know not everybody had parents like mine, some parents lied to you, and some parents, didn't care about you. I know that's not true of God. God is always correct. And even if we don't see it that way. So yes, if we pray, why worry? But here's the thing. For me, we have to know what to pray for. Lord, I want a big old mansion with lots of women in it as maids. That's probably not in the list of prayers that I should be praying. So we need to pray according to what God has already said that we should pray, and that is that we need to know who we are. There's so many people that I meet don't know who they are. They're lost because if you don't know who you are, you don't know your purpose, you don't know your path, you don't know your passion, and you're not moving in the right direction. And everywhere you go, you're going to run into a dead end, simply because God doesn't want you messing around over there. And so when I saw your title, it's like, oh yeah, I don't worry. I've never really, really worried. I think another word that may be a synonym is concern. I think it's okay to be concerned about something, like if your child is not home on time, and but to worry, what if this, what if that? No, just be concerned and do what you need to do. And
I like that. Yeah, you're right, because it's in a very different context. Concern allows for action. Worry actually stops it.
Right. It's concern. Exactly. You said it right. So concern is taking positive action. Worry is taking negative action. And I see it that way. So you see it that way as well.
Nice. Yeah. I like the where we're coming from is your faith. And if you have faith, whatever faith that may be, my faith is very similar to Roy's in that it's rooted in a connection and relationship with God through prayer, which hence why I felt fine putting up there, if you pray, why worry? I know not everybody gets that, and that's fine. It's my show. If you don't get it, fine. Come in this seat and tell us about your faith. That's kind of the whole point of the program here, is to share what works for each of us, right? So going back to that faith, what I liked about what you said, Roy, and what I was able to envision was that when you were saying you were viewing God as similar to your father and putting up those protective fences, what he's doing is those barriers that we get, the obstacles we come across in our growth, personal growth, are opportunities to see, are we really going into danger? Is it time to stop, take a breath, take a look? And if it's not something that's going to harm us, then it's something inside that I can get help from God to get through and walk through. That's what I heard you say. Is that on target?
Totally. Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, exactly. So while I don't know the future, see, I believe no one knows the future. You can take a good, educated guess at the future, and I love my plaque. My wife got me a plaque, and it says the best way to predict the future is to create it. And that's what I'm doing. I'm creating my own future, because if you have that connection with God, then God will give you the path that you need to be on. It's kind of sort of like the yellow brick road, but not really, because you don't see that. So, So one of my analogies is that you cannot steer a parked car, right? So if a person realizes that they're stopped, they're just standing still, they're not moving forward, and then they have all of these concerns and worries, both the good and the bad. But you have to start moving, because if you're not moving, God can't tell you go left here, go right there, because you're not there yet. So he's going to be silent while you're just waiting to start moving. I think that's what we all need to do, is take one step. And that's what prayer does for us. If we pray according to his will for our life, we are guaranteed to have it. And that is the driving force for me. And
Yeah.
I'm 59 years young, so I've been doing this since I was 30. So, I have 30 years of experience. It works, just like I heard you say. I got stuck, I prayed, boom, there it is.
It works for me as well.
It works for anybody.
That's the only thing that I can speak to, is what works for me. And when we find like minds and like experiences, it's awesome. It's awesome. What I like about what Napoleon Hill gives us is he tells us that whatever faith we have, right? And he talks in terms, that's why I think the book is useful to anybody who can believe in a divine intelligence, and whatever we envision that divine intelligence to be. You and I, we call him God. And it's we give him a male, you can hear me, right? The male pronoun. And
Sure.
but that's because of the faith that I grew up in, I believe in. And we have, people in the audience that believe in the universe and into a universal life force energy, and others who love the idea of a divine intelligence rather than the descriptives that you and I use. I don't think it matters. I really don't. Matter of fact, I know it doesn't matter. What I think matters is that you recognize for yourself what is working in your spirit life, and that whatever is working for you is what you go to. Use whatever language you want to use.
Absolutely.
Don't bother me one darn bit. Roy and I, we're going to call him God. We're going to say, our Father, and we could probably recite the same prayers regularly.
Absolutely.
And that's cool. But that's because we have those things in common. And it is something that faith is so foundational to these principles. Isn't it, Roy? That faith.
I don't think you can fully walk through life, whether you're here on the planet 10 years or 110 years, without knowing why you're here. And only God can tell you why you're here. So, see, God put in us the innate knowledge that he exists. And if you suppress that, then you're going to end up, an atheist. And of course, there's no such thing, because if we all see, for me, it's real simple. So I'm going to preach for just a half a second. For me, it's all about logic. Okay, so God is logical. And if you say that you don't believe in God and you have logic in your life and you look to the logical, then you have to stand on God's word, because God's word is logical. If something is illogical, it's not from God. It's that simple. And if it's logical, it's from God, because he would not put mankind on this planet and then not give us the innate, put it in us to know that he exists. That's as much as he's done. Now, we don't know his name, we don't know his attributes, but we know he exists. And because of that, he draws us towards him, or the negative influences of other people, which Zig Ziglar calls them SNIOPs, because we're susceptible to the negative influences of other people.
Aren't we? Yes, we are.
Yeah. And the tide of the world, or the status quo, is to move away from God. We're taking God out of everything simply because, we want to do what we want to do, and we see where that's going to get us. So my point is, if you think God does not exist, I grant you that. If you think God is in the form of navel lint, I grant you that. But whatever you pray to, if it's not God, then there's no answer. That rock over there cannot answer your prayer. So first you have to know who you're praying to, and then you have to believe that your prayer will be answered according to what he's already said he will do for you. And it's just really that simple. So it doesn't mean that we're going to live our life without trial, without temptation, without adversity. No, it's going to be there. As a matter of fact, when you come to this knowledge of God, you're going to have a lot of adversity in your life, simply because we have an adversary. And that adversary, doesn't want you to do the right thing. And so anyway, I'll leave it right there.
No, I love where you went with it. Thank you, Roy. Thank you. And I love how you, as a reminder to all of us, we preface something like this, when we were in a room full of so many different beliefs, that this is my moment. and I love how you were describing it, and it's so important. The end is where I was really thinking that that's where it comes in with the worry. That's where it comes in with we have to have something outside of ourselves to replace, and we have to believe in that something to replace that worry with confidence, with decisiveness, with we believe in where we're going, right? That end goal that I have in mind for the riches that I want, that I believe this divine is there for me. And it's interesting the way you phrased it, that I was born with the innate, and I don't know, the innate knowing. What I do know is that I've explored a few other dogmas and a few other paths, and I'm really okay with the one I have. I'm really okay with the structure of the religion that I believe in, because it's true for me, and it rings true. And why I'm even saying all this is because, Roy, you said about you already have the answer. He's already told me. And that's what was resonating. And that's why it rings true, the religion that I follow and the dogma that I follow and believe in. It rings true that the answers are within me, but only because I believe God is within me. That's my take on it. It can get really complicated if we're not careful. Let's keep it simple.
Yeah, well,
if you worry, why pray? If you pray, why worry?
That's just it. Is that God makes everything so simple, and man makes it so difficult, because there's just something about us that we can see it in our own kids. And so life as we know it, mother, father, and then child, we can co-create. We can't create something out of nothing, such as what God did, but we can co-create, and that is an example for us as human beings to see the invisible through what we see is visible. So what I mean by that is that God is our Father, we are his kids, and yes, we can't see him. Maybe he's manifested himself to some people, and I believe he has. I've never seen him personally, I've never heard him personally. But because of this innateness within me, I know there's something beyond me that is in me. It's like, where did that thought come from? How did I know this? Why did I turn left? And why did I wait 10 seconds and there was a crash? All that stuff.
When you said, now I have that innate knowing, now I have that. Yes, and I've had that throughout most of my life. I was stuck on the being born with the innate knowing. Doesn't matter. I have it now. I have it today. That sense of just knowing, right?
Well, what happens, I think, and I was looking at this on page 222, right? He's talking about, here, let me read this one paragraph. Even a dog or a horse knows when its master lacks courage. Moreover, a dog or a horse will pick up the vibrations of fear thrown off by its master and behave accordingly. Now, and then it goes on to talk about even lower down the line of intelligence in the animal kingdom, talks about insects and stuff like that. So people pick up on that, okay? And for any of you who've ever watched any dog trainer, and especially Cesar Millan, he realizes that you have to train the dog owner and you have to rehabilitate the dog. It's not the dog's fault. It's what the owner is projecting onto the dog that allows that dog to do these, not so good things. And you change the habit and the vibration of the dog owner, and the dog automatically, goes from, yeah. And so I do believe it's the same way for us. And we as parents project that to our kids. If we're a little kid and our parents are fearful and a lot of worry, we pick up on that. And then we go through life with all of that. And so I can honestly say that I probably had the best dad, and you and I would probably argue that, Charlene, but I had the best parents on the planet simply because I know what they poured into me and how they poured into me and the confidence that they had and all of that. And I would not be the person I am today if they didn't pour those those traits into me as a young kid. You know what I'm saying? When the
Yeah.
formidable times of our life were forming. So
Right.
I do believe vibrations of others will lead us astray.
So when you were talking about the visual of the animal to the owner or the master, of the parent to the child, the same exact thing applies to me and you and every person I come across. That literally is the law of nature. It's the law of attraction. It is, what are we putting out? What are we attracting to us? What are we repelling from us? And it is vibrational energy. We can feel it.
Amen to
You
that.
can walk
Yes.
into a room and feel the tension. Can you not?
Yes.
You can walk into the room and feel the lifting joy. I've done that. I've walked into a room where death was present, and yet it wasn't anything except just sadness. It wasn't a horrifying feeling. It was just sadness because the soon loss of somebody. But you don't have to know what's going on to feel what's happening.
Yes.
When you're around somebody, right? Either be a single person,
Absolutely.
but especially if you're in a group. Now, I'm just going to say this because it's the top of my head, and if I don't say it, it'll go away, and then it'll come back someplace else. I may as well say it now. Which, of course, means that it just went out of my head. But seriously, this is why I distrust crowds and mobs. This is why I distrust them, is because when I walk into a crowd and that energy is there, my first instinct is, whether I'm attracted to it or repelled by it, is I take a step back and take a breath to see if that's appropriate for me. And I encourage everybody I know to do this, because if it's not appropriate for me, I make that decision. This is where Napoleon Hill is telling us we control our thoughts. We're the ones that decide where we're going to be and how we're going to respond to things. If I am solid in my decision making, I'm on my definiteness of purpose, I'm on my path towards a specific goal, I know where I want to be and how I'm going to get there. When I hit a crowd and I feel whatever is happening or whatever energy they have, I can decide whether or not it's beneficial to me to keep moving. But honestly, this is why I don't trust mobs, is because or crowds. I look at them and I say, everybody is just responding to an emotion or that energy. It appears that they're not thinking for themselves. I'm not giving them credit. Could very well be that they walked into the crowd and said, oh yeah, this is where I want to be. But that's my response to somebody else's energy. Am I attracted to it? Am I repelled by it? Take a step. Why? Should I be? Is this something that's good for me? And if not, walk away. If it is, let's walk together. So I wanted to throw that out there because I think that's what everything about law of attraction, which comes from all of this, what Napoleon Hill's been talking about, what it looks like.
I love it, Charlene, because I too am like you. That John Maxwell calls that the law of environment. And I
Right.
love that. I love that because the environment that I'm creating for me and the people I want to serve on the planet is just that. I don't want the mob. I don't want just anybody. I want people that I have filtered. And you know how I filter.
Yeah.
I'm very filtered. I'm very matter of fact. Earlier you were talking about decisiveness, and that the antidote to worry is being decisive. And so many people that I've met here on Blab and just in life in general have that mob mentality. Now, when I say mob, I don't mean the law of environment that I want to attract. It's just anybody and everybody. So you got your best thinking people, and you got your worst thinking people, and everybody in between. That's what I think you're referring to. Yes. So you don't necessarily want that. But if you have the law of environment that you've set up, such as a mastermind, and you're famous for that. So when you bring people together with a common goal, common same-mindedness, not like-mindedness, same-mindedness, with a common or similar point B, and they're all working towards it, such as, in the Olympics, we have people in these rowboats, right? So you all need to be in sync. You can't have somebody there that is rowing slower or rowing faster. You all have to be on the same rhythm, and that's what the vibration of all of us is. And so when somebody says to me, after I ask them a yes or no question, yes or no, well, Roy, that depends. That depends if the sun came out on the left side of my window. No, it doesn't depend. It's like, make a decision. These people who are middle of the road.
You are so funny, Roy, because I know how you work, and we've had that conversation, because it's like, well, I'm not going to answer it either way.
So that's my filter. If somebody doesn't answer, so one of my earlier questions for people is, do you trust me? Hey, hi, I'm Roy. Hi, Charlene. Do you trust me? I don't even know you. Okay, next. So you're already out of my life, because the only answer I will take for you to come into my love environment is, yes, I trust you, Roy, because if someone asks me right off the bat, it's like, hi, I'm so and so. Nice to meet you. Do you trust me, Roy? Yes, I do. Because why would I say no? How can I even possibly know I don't trust this person? And if you say, well, I haven't listened to them enough or heard them enough, it's like, no, you can't earn somebody's trust, and you don't need to earn somebody's trust, because how will you know what that looks like, and when will you give them your list, and how will they? It's just too complicated.
You know what I love about this? All right, so everybody, this is what I love about Roy. He's able to articulate the rules under which he determines who is going to be in his life. He's decisive about who belongs and who doesn't, who he wants to be around, who he's attracted to, the circles he wants to be a part of. And that, to me, is the epitome of the description we've been talking about and envisioning for ourselves, of getting to the point that we know who we are going to be around. We know what's going to work in my life, right? I know who I allow into my inner circle and to my secondary, tertiary, and so on. The relationship that I have with them. And it's very clear. I'm solid in my values. You doing things that go against my values, you're not going to be a part of my inner circle. I'll just tell you that. I'm not going to tell you. You're just not going to have those conversations. Love that, right?
It's the vibrational energy that is unspoken that either aligns us with that person or repels us from that person. And so some people will say, I just don't know what it is, but I just get this feeling, and I don't know. Everybody says this is a great person, but somehow I just don't get that vibe.
Yeah, I get that.
And while that person may be great for others,
you're right. The gut is always good.
It's like, that's not a fit. And I think God put that in us to warn us about such people, And if we go against our gut, if you will, or our intuitiveness, that usually gets us in trouble. We should follow it. We should follow it.
Yes. When we trust that is when the worry gets reduced. I am going to bring it back to topic, because it is about getting rid of the negative, trusting ourselves, being in a position to say that my faith, not only in my God, but in myself, my abilities, my people I have around me, my abilities and persistence. I mean, name the principles, right? That's why we've gotten to this point. The end of the book, it says, you can come up with any excuse you want. The reality is you're the one that got yourself there, and it's up to you to get yourself out. And the only way to do it is to take a look at all these previous principles, pick one. Just pick one.
Well, okay.
Start on it. The others will start to show for you,
Well, let me touch on that. So yes, you got yourself into this mess, right? You went the wrong way.
Not necessarily a mess. It's not necessarily a mess. You got yourself where you are now. Good, bad, or indifferent.
Right.
You that got you here.
Right.
When we can recognize that is when we experience it's amazing to me that I can phrase it this way and it makes sense to me, and I know it doesn't make sense to those who are in it. But when you get to the point where you're able to say unequivocally, I'm the one that got me here to this point, inside, outside, mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally, I'm the one that got me here, is the greatest sense of freedom to take responsibility, to be able to say that, and to walk through the shame of having done it to yourself, right? But it's still a sense of freedom that says, well, if I'm the one that got me here, holy cow, I'm the one that can get out. I'm the one that can change this. Because if I blame everybody else, then who am I going to grab onto to change this? I mean, if I say that, Roy, it's all your fault that I'm here right now feeling like this, who am I going to go to feel differently? And yet when I say and recognize, wait a minute, it's me. I'm the one that can change this. It's cool. It's just really cool.
Yeah, that's where I was going. So the reason I said a mess, where you end up in a mess, is because you didn't know the right path to take. You ended up there. Yes, it is your fault. It is your credit, however you want to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
You may have listened to all the wrong voices. But the only way to get out of your mess is, and I forget who said this, and I'm going to butcher this, but the same mind that got you into this mess is not the mind that can get you out of this mess. So what you need is outside help. You need people who understand where you are, and that's why we have coaches and consultants, and as I like to call them, frienducators, friends who educate you on what you don't know. And I'm famous for my one-liner that says, you don't know what you don't know. So if you don't know what you don't know, Google's not going to do you any good because you don't know what to search for. So
the answer is not in Google.
Yeah, I love that. And you, Charlene, you have poured into me from day one. So definitely the things that I don't know or didn't know that you poured into me, I'm going to keep coming back to the well. I haven't been here for a while, but today I happen to be up early. So thank you. Thank you for, again, being here. And you're a staple here on Blab. So the thing I'll miss most about Blab is you, because you are definitely a staple here. And so I'm going to jump out, but before I do, just in case, have you thought about if Blab does not exist anymore? And I don't know what's going on. I've heard all kinds of things. Will you have this elsewhere? Like, have you been looking at another platform?
I have been. I was looking at podcasting again, not a formal podcast in terms of what I call formal, and more like a radio program where we do the same thing, except it's not in live stream face to face. It's what I was looking for was something like Blog Talk Radio that had a better platform. And I found one. So I am looking at that, TalkShoe. And they have a really nice chat area and a call-in number. So we could get the voices to come in, right? Where we could have conversation while having chat. So we just wouldn't have the video. So that's what I'm looking at now. So it might, I have been looking at doing it because it's been so beneficial to me. Yeah, it's a backup right now because it has been so beneficial to me and people keep showing up. But again, now if I started on something like TalkShoe or some other platform and people don't show up, that's my criteria. If you're not here, then there's no reason for me to be here, right? So yes, I've thought of it.
Oh, cool. What Catherine just put.
About the Christian Women's Group?
A Spreaker station. Is that
a radio program? Well, we can talk, Catherine.
Catherine,
let's check that out. We can check that out.
Anyways, I'm going to jump out.
We know Blab is going to be here, but we just don't know in what form. We have an idea of what form.
Well, I do know they're not going to do too much more to fix what is broken here, and they're not going to devote any more time to that. They're off with another app somewhere doing that. So, and the recordings are probably going to go away too. So I don't know if you've been backing them up or not to your
YouTube channel.
Okay, so as long as you've been backing stuff up, if you're counting on Blab to be here forever, please don't, and make sure you get your backups. And pretty soon we may not even have the recording feature. So, they're not doing too much more with this as it is. So this is pretty much as is, but it's still better than anything out there.
It's still awesome.
Plus,
Oh my word, it's so awesome. But again, that's why I do have a backup that I'm looking at. We'll be testing it in another week or two. Just to test. And, if that's the case, then that's the case. I have someplace to go.
Sounds awesome. Charlene, thanks
Okay.
for the chat. As always, I'm always walking 2 feet off the ground after talking to you. So thank you for that. You've given me
Thank
the
you,
rocket
Roy.
fuel for the day. Thanks, hon. Bye-bye.
Oh, thank you, Roy. So appreciate you. You're just too kind. Yes, Cindy, Chuck Bartok has an excellent many years, 397 episodes on TalkShoe. Outstanding. FocusSociety.com. Go check him out. Does exactly what I'm doing here. He's my mentor, and pretty darn awesome. Awesome stuff. All right, so so there's Cindy. We are praying for solutions, so as not to worry about Blab going away. All right, there you go. Let's get out of the worry about it. Hey, backup plans may not work. Fine. Let's say a prayer that we're on the right path. Thank you for joining me in the live stream, Roy. Thank you in the chat area so much for your contributions to today's program. Those watching live, love having you here, and those watching the replay, whew, thanks for hanging with us this long. This is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know. That's www.growbecauseyouknow.com. Let's move forward with the day on purpose, with purpose, to grow our hearts, grow our minds, and grow our businesses. Until next time, have a great day.